This tutorial is addressed to those who have studied the previous tutorials and got the point behind my pattern adjustment method. Now I want to offer you to recalculate the same pattern, but with minor alterations. I have simply chosen another client with different proportions, and I will show you a fast and easy way of determining necessary adjustments. Let us use the same kind of a table for calculated values. There is an additional column in the table, bust middle. Since the bust middle measurement of the pattern does not coincide with the client's, the first column of the table contains the same key measurements which you need to take off the mock-up and off your client to adjust the pattern after her figure. They are bust front, under bust front, bust circumference, under bust circumference, waist circumference, stomach circumference. I took this measurement 12 centimeters below the waistline, both on the client and on the mock-up. Hip circumference. I took this measurement 19 centimeters below the waistline, both on the client and on the mock-up. Bust middle, clip, distance from the bust line to the neckline of the corset. These are all required measurements. The second column of the table contains client's measurements, and the third column contains the dimensions of the initial pattern. In other words, they are measurements taken off your mock-up. These measurements fully coincide with the measurements used in the previous calculations. Bust middle. My client's measurement is 18 centimeters, and it is 20 centimeters on the pattern. 18 centimeters minus 20 centimeters equals -2 centimeters. It looks like the pattern is 2 centimeters larger than it should be. If I divide this 2 centimeters between the two halves of the corset, then I need to remove 1 centimeter from each side of it. Simply put, instead of placing the edge of the central front piece right at the fold line of the fabric, I will need to shift it 1 centimeter beyond the fold line. If you decide to alter your printed out paper pattern, you will simply trim 1 centimeter along the center of the piece and then place it with the edge right at the fold line. By removing 1 centimeter along the center, I reduce the bust middle by 2 centimeters. I write -1 centimeter in lines 1 through 8 of column 4. Why have I made a separate column for the adjustment of the bust middle measurement? The thing is that the value of -1 centimeter will be involved in all calculations. It should always be before your eyes, lest you forget about it and get confused. After making things clear with the bust middle measurement, you need to determine the configuration of the side seam of the front. All calculated values should be recorded in column 5. 2 measurements are responsible for the configuration of the side seam or the balance of the garment: bust front and under bust front. These 2 measurements indicate the configuration of the side seam on the altered pattern. In other words, they show where the side seam is located at the bust level and at the under bust level. Moreover, these 2 measurements are responsible for the overall final configuration of the side seam. Bust front measurement: 46 centimeters on the client and 49 centimeters on the pattern. 46 centimeters minus 49 centimeters equals -3 centimeters. It looks like the size of the pattern is 3 centimeters larger than the size of the client. Quite naturally, I need to shift the side seam of the front 3 centimeters inwards in this case. Since the front of the dress is made of 2 halves, I need to narrow each one down by 1.5 centimeters. But there is a very important detail. I have already removed 1 centimeter from the bust middle measurement, which means I only need to remove another 0.5 centimeters using the side seam of the front. there is another way to calculate it. The bust front measurement of the pattern is 49 centimeters, but I have already removed 2 centimeters from the bust middle measurement. 49 centimeters minus 2 centimeters equals 47 centimeters. Therefore, 46 centimeters minus 47 centimeters equals -1 centimeter. I divide -1 centimeter in half because of the 2 halves. As the result, I need to shift the side seam of the front 0.5 centimeters inwards at the level of the bust front measurement. I write -0.5 centimeters in the table, column 5, line 1. You can calculate it any way you like. Just make sure you don't get confused. Under bust front measurement, 37 centimeters on the client and 40 centimeters on the pattern. But I have already reduced the bust front measurement by 2 centimeters. 40 centimeters minus 2 centimeters equals 38 centimeters. Therefore, 37 centimeters minus 38 centimeters equals -1 centimeter. I divide -1 centimeter in half. As the result, I need to shift the side seam of the front 0.5 centimeters inwards at the level of the under bust front measurement. I write -0.5 centimeters in the table, column 5, line 2. And now I need to choose a fixed value by which I will shift the side seams of the front inwards to adjust the pattern down. The previous 2 measurements already make it clear that I need to adjust the pattern down by 0.5 centimeters along the bust line and the under bust line by shifting the side seam of the front inwards. It logically follows that I need to shift the entire side seam 0.5 centimeters inwards, from top to bottom. I write -0.5 centimeters in lines 3 through 7 of column 5. I have already calculated the bust middle measurement, so I put a dash in line 8 of column 6. Let's look at the clip measurement. Instead of making a separate column for the clip, I write all calculated values under the side seam of the front since it refers to the front half of the pattern. Towards the arm's eye, 9 centimeters on the client and 11.5 centimeters on the pattern. 9 centimeters minus 11.5 centimeters equals -2.5 centimeters. I need to remove 2.5 centimeters in the arm's eye area. I write -2.5 centimeters in line 9 of column 5. Towards the corner, 9 centimeters on the client and 12 centimeters on the pattern. 9 centimeters minus 12 centimeters equals -3 centimeters. I need to remove 3 centimeters from the clip toward the corner. I write -3 centimeters in line 9 of column 5. Distance from the bust line to the neckline of the corset. 5 centimeters on the client and 7 centimeters on the pattern. 5 centimeters minus 7 centimeters equals -2 centimeters. I need to lower the neckline by 2 centimeters. I write -2 centimeters in line 10 of column 5. These are all calculations related to the side seam of the front. Let's move to the side seam of the back. First, I pre-calculate the configuration of the side seam and write the values under Side Seams Back, column 6. Let's begin calculating. You'll see what happens after I take into account all measurements and calculations from the table. The bust front and the under bust front measurements are not involved in these calculations. I write dashes in the table. I have narrowed down the standard pattern by 2 centimeters in the bust middle measurement and by 1 centimeter along the side seam of the front in the area between the bust line and the hip line. -1 centimeter plus -0.5 centimeters equals -1.5 centimeters. -1.5 centimeters times 2 equals -3 centimeters. When calculating adjustments of the entire side seam of the back, I need to keep in mind that I have already adjusted the pattern down by 3 centimeters. Bust circumference: 85 centimeters on the client and 92 centimeters on the pattern. But I have already narrowed the pattern down by 3 centimeters. 92 centimeters minus 3 centimeters equals 89 centimeters. 85 centimeters minus 89 centimeters equals -4 centimeters. It looks like the size of the pattern is 4 centimeters larger than the size of the client. I need to shift the side seam of the back 4 centimeters inwards in this case. Since the back of the dress is made of 2 halves, I need to narrow each one down by 2 centimeters. I write -2 centimeters in line 3 of column 6. Under bust circumference: 74 centimeters on the client and 82 centimeters on the pattern. But I have already narrowed the pattern down by 3 centimeters. 82 centimeters minus 3 centimeters equals 79 centimeters. 74 centimeters minus 79 centimeters equals -5 centimeters. It looks like the pattern is 5 centimeters larger at the under bust level than it's supposed to be according to my client's measurement. Therefore, I need to shift the side seam of the back 5 centimeters inwards. Since the back of the dress is made of 2 halves, I need to narrow each one down by 2.5 centimeters. I write -2.5 centimeters in line 4 of column 6. Waist circumference: 71 centimeters on my client and 77 centimeters on the pattern. But I have already narrowed the pattern down by 3 centimeters. 77 centimeters minus 3 centimeters equals 74 centimeters. 71 centimeters minus 74 centimeters equals -3 centimeters. It looks like the pattern is 3 centimeters larger in the waist than it is supposed to be according to the client's measurement. Therefore, I need to shift the side seam of the back 3 centimeters inwards. Since the back of the dress is made of 2 halves, I need to narrow each one down by 1.5 centimeters. I write -1.5 centimeters in line 5 of column 6. Stomach circumference: 91 centimeters on the client and 97 centimeters on the pattern. But I have already narrowed the pattern down by 3 centimeters. 97 centimeters minus 3 centimeters equals 94 centimeters. 91 centimeters minus 94 centimeters equals -3 centimeters. The pattern is 3 centimeters larger in the stomach, 12 centimeters below the waistline, than it is supposed to be according to the client's measurement. Therefore, I need to shift the side seam of the back 3 centimeters inwards. Since the back of the dress is made of 2 halves, I need to narrow each one down by 1.5 centimeters. I write -1.5 centimeters in line 6 of column 6. Hip circumference: 96 centimeters on the client and 102 centimeters on the pattern. But I have already narrowed the pattern down by 3 centimeters. 102 centimeters minus 3 centimeters equals 99 centimeters. 96 centimeters minus 99 centimeters equals -3 centimeters. The pattern is 3 centimeters larger in the hips, 19 centimeters below the waistline, than it is supposed to be according to the client's measurement. Therefore, I need to shift the side seam of the back 3 centimeters inwards. Since the back of the dress is made of 2 halves, I need to narrow each one down by 1.5 centimeters. I write -1.5 centimeters in line 6 of column 7. Bust middle, clip, and the distance from the bust line to the neckline of the corset are not involved in the calculations of the side seam of the back. I write dashes in the table, lines 8 through 10 of column 6. Now I have all preliminary values for adjusting the side seam of the back. Let us study our calculations and analyze their results. There is little dispersion between the calculated values of adjustments along the circumference lines. Basically, I can leave the adjustment values for the side seam of the back as is. It means I will need to shift it 2 centimeters inwards along the bust line, 2.5 centimeters inwards along the under bust line, 1.5 centimeters inwards along the waistline, 1.5 centimeters inwards along the stomach line, and 1.5 centimeters inwards along the hip line. The side seam in the area below the waistline will then shift by a fixed value and repeat its initial configuration on the pattern. But the initial gracefully curved shape of the side seam of the back looks somewhat too straight in the area above the waistline. It is better to recalculate it a little. It's best to achieve the same side seam configuration at the front and at the back. When you put the adjusted pattern of the front over the adjusted pattern of the back, the contours of their side seams should coincide perfectly. And this will only happen if you adjust each side seam by the same fixed value from top to bottom. In some cases, you cannot preserve the initial shape of the side seam. For example, you may have to use a larger value for shifting the side seam of the front or the back at the waistline level. It happens when your client has a guitar-shaped body or when she wants the garment to make her waist more pronounced. In such cases, it is impossible to use one and the same value for adjusting the entire side seam. If you do want to make a slimmer fit in the waist, make sure to keep the same degree of tightening at the front and at the back. Suppose you have narrowed the front and the back by 1 centimeter each. If you need to remove another 2 centimeters in the waist, you should do it both on the front and on the back half of the dress. Only then will the side seams have an identical shape. It is described in great detail in my learning materials. You will even find my own formula for calculating the side seam in the case when you have no princess seams, but only darts at the front. It is a broad topic, really. I could not possibly squeeze all nuances into a single tutorial. If you are really determined to start sewing professionally and accepting multiple orders, I highly recommend that you purchase my other learning materials because they contain the answers to all your questions. I never skip complicated issues. They are explained and described in detail in my manuals. With this background, I believe I must not leave the side seam of the back the way it is now. The side seams of the front and of the back look different now, which means it will be very hard to sew them together, and the result is unlikely to look any good. The edge of the back might bite into the skin, or vice versa, end up too loose. Let us improve the adjustments of the side seam of the back. Column 7. We will study all calculation parameters and choose a fixed value for shifting the side seam of the back inwards. I need to shift it inwards, preserving the beautiful corset silhouette and, at the same time, bringing it closer to the client's size. I believe it makes sense to adopt the value of negative 1.5 centimeters because the side seam of the back is supposed to be shifted inwards by this value in the waist, the stomach, and the hips. Let us adopt negative 1.5 centimeters as our fixed adjustment value for the entire side seam of the back. I write negative 1.5 centimeters in line 7 of column 6. All other adjustments of the side seam of the back will be applied with the help of its princess seams. Column 8. There are 2 princess seams at the back of the dress, and each of them is made of 2 raw edges. It's why each calculated value should be divided by 4. Bust circumference. 85 centimeters on the client and 92 centimeters on the pattern. I have reduced the standard pattern by 3 centimeters. 2 centimeters in the bust middle and 1 centimeter along the side seam of the front, and by another 3 centimeters along the adjusted side seam of the back. 92 centimeters minus 3 centimeters minus 3 centimeters equals 86 centimeters. 85 centimeters minus 86 centimeters equals negative 1 centimeter. As you can see, the pattern is 1 centimeter larger at the level of the bust than it is supposed to be according to my client's measurement. I need to account for it in the princess seams at the back. Negative 1 centimeter divided by 4 equals negative 0.2 centimeters. I need to shift each edge of each princess seam 0.2 centimeters inwards at the level of the bust. The total circumference of the pattern will then be 85 centimeters, which fully complies with the client's measurement. I write negative 0.2 centimeters in line 8 of column 3. Under bust circumference. 74 centimeters on the client and 82 centimeters on the pattern. I have reduced the standard pattern by 3 centimeters. 2 centimeters in the bust middle and 1 centimeter along the side seam of the front, and by another 3 centimeters along the adjusted side seam of the back. 82 centimeters minus 3 centimeters minus 3 centimeters equals 76 centimeters. 74 centimeters minus 76 centimeters equals negative 2 centimeters. The pattern is 2 centimeters larger at the under bust level than it's supposed to be according to my client's measurement. Again, I need to account for it in the princess seams at the back. Negative 2 centimeters divided by 4 equals negative 0.5 centimeters. Therefore, I need to shift each edge of each princess seam 0.5 centimeters inwards at the under bust level. The total circumference of the pattern will be 74 centimeters, which fully complies with the client's measurement. I write negative 0.5 centimeters in line 4 of column 8. The calculated alteration value for the side seam of the back in the waist, stomach, and hips has not changed. It is 1.5 centimeters. There will be no alterations in the princess seams of the back. I write zeros in lines 5 through 7 of column 8. So, the entire side seam of the back will shift 1.5 centimeters inwards. The princess seams of the back will shift 0.2 centimeters inwards at the level of the bust line and 0.5 centimeters inwards at the under bust line level. The princess seam of the back will look like this. In conclusion, I would like to add that by including the princess seams of the back into the calculations, you achieve the right overall distribution of circumferences, which results in a perfect fit of the garment. We are not doing anything overly complicated. Pure maths allow us to redistribute the circumferences of the corset between the front and the back and put the side seam in place. Any deviations from the fixed value are accounted for in the princess seams of the back, with due attention to the body proportions and the silhouette.